I was 18 years old when I graduated high school and went off to Bible college. I felt the call of God to preach and to be in ministry, and I was pursuing God. And I remember I would take these moments to go spend time with God out in this field on the edge of town. There was this field where I used to love to go and just pray and just walk and spend time out in nature with the Lord. I'd go out at sunset and I would begin to pray about my future and pray about the ministry and pray about God, use me to do something for you. And I remember at one point I looked out and there were these cows just grazing out there, and I just started preaching to these cows like it was like Sunday morning behind a pulpit.
Simultaneously, while he's preaching to cows, I was in college, and I would just sneak away from the busyness and that hectic pace, and I would always sneak away to this field. And I would sit on the hood of my car as the sun was setting, and I would just talk to the Lord about my future, about what he had in store for my life. And I just remember that was my favorite place in that season of life, to just sneak away and to spend time with the Lord. Later on, we weren't even a couple yet, and later on we realized we were going to the same field to spend time with the Lord. It was a really sweet moment when we realized, that's my field. It's your field?
That's mine.
Yeah.
So years later, we're in ministry down in San Jose at a great church, and we start to feel God giving us a new assignment. We really felt like it was time to go plant our own church. And God started stirring in us this idea of pastoring and planting a church back in West Roseville area.
So every time we'd come home to visit family, we would always drive to the field and we would pray, and we just started noticing that the neighborhoods were developing around it. It used to literally just be fields for miles and miles. All of a sudden there's schools and there's apartments and...
Yeah, we were driving through the neighborhood praying, and I remember just crying and seeing the schools and the parks and all that, and go, we've got to have a church out here. And we were driving by Harvest Community Church, and I remember saying that Pastor Scott was one of my Bible college teachers. I love them. I love the church. When we plant our church on this side of town, we're going to work together.
Yeah, you were adamant.
We're going to work together.
We've got to connect with them.
You have a miracle story? You got a few to tell?
So it wasn't too long after we had that conversation, we went home to San Jose, and we got a phone call saying that Harvest Church was looking for a pastor. And really shortly after that, we became the new pastors of Harvest Community Church.
So we were pastoring for 2 years at Harvest, and the church was growing and great things were happening. And I get a call from a board member, and he tells me that there's a group of people that they have some land, and they've been holding on to this land for 25 years because God told them that they want to give this land to a church one day so they can build a new building on it. And they believe that we're that church. So now we are walking in a miracle with this property, and we are now starting to plan and prepare for building a new church building. We are talking to architects, we are talking to construction, crews. We're trying to plan out what would a building look like. And we go through the whole process with just God's favor on all of it. Yeah. And we meet with the city of Roseville in our design review for the building, and it just goes so smoothly. And I'll never forget, at the end of the meeting, we get an address. So 3700 Market Street is our new church address, and they say, we are happy to have a church on this side of town. Welcome to West Roseville.
So then we get another phone call, and there's a group out there who said they heard about what is going on at Harvest and about the land that was being donated, and they were really excited and wanted to get behind what God's doing at Harvest. And so they wanted to give to this building fund. And not only that, they wanted to match dollar for dollar what Harvest is raising.
Which I thought was amazing, but I said, up to how much? And they said, we want to match dollar for dollar up to $5 million. I went, oh, yeah, that'll work.
So the really sweet part of this story is actually when we met with the people who are wanting to donate the land, we got in their car. I just remember as we were pulling up, grabbing Paul's hand in the back seat, thinking, this is our field. They're taking us to our field where Paul used to preach and where I used to pray, and where we drove around and said, this is where we want to plant a church. We pulled up to the field, and I got chills everywhere. It's the same field.
So now we have this property that's been given to us, $5 million of matching funds. The city of Roseville has given us approval for design, and we are moving forward with God's favor on this building project. And it's just so exciting to see what God's doing. One of the cool things about where the property is surrounding the church is a school, city parks, and high-density, low-income housing. And the church is going to be right in the middle of that, where we can begin to make an impact on the people around that neighborhood and in our community. And I really believe that God has ordained this and orchestrated this and given us this land. And I think of Nehemiah. When God showed him to go rebuild the wall, the people said, "We will rise and build with you." And I believe, church, this is what God's called us to do, that we will rise up and build the house of God so that we can continue to make an impact in Roseville.